Okay guys, so now you should have all your animations in a folder. So you should have a falling idol, you have an idol, jump down, jump up, run, T-pose, and walk. And we have to put all of those in Unreal Engine. So let's go ahead and open Unreal. Now, if you guys recall in the video that I made, the eyeball video where we put in the character inside Unreal Engine and we downloaded the MetaHuman character so we could put the eyeball from the MetaHuman character onto our character. If you guys remember that, and if you did not watch that video, please go back to it. I explain exactly how to put the MetaHuman character inside Unreal Engine and how to take that eye and put it inside, put it in our character so we could use it for our character. So make sure you watch that video. And you should have saved it. I showed you guys how to save that Unreal Engine file. So this is basically my Unreal Engine file here. And if you don't want to use the old file that you have made, you could always just create a new one, go to games and create a third person, and just make sure that you have starter content turned on, because that's where we're going to have the third person controller that we're going to use for our character. And the thing is, if you create a brand new project instead of using the one that we have did in the previous video, then you're going to have to download the MetaHuman again, which is going to take some time. So that's why I'm just going to use the one that we have done for our recent video, the eyeball video. So I'm going to use this one right here. I already put in the MetaHuman in there, so I'm going to go ahead and open that. All right, and there it is. There's the scene that we had previously. Okay, now we are going to have to drop our files in our Unreal Engine here. And we have to go make sure, right, that you have your MetaHuman folder in there. Okay, because we're going to be using one of the eyeballs. We are going to use the material for the eyeballs there. So you can see that I have, let's see, if I click on this arrow here, I have the Emmanuel folder, because that's the character that I've chosen from MetaHuman. But yeah, just make sure that you have MetaHuman. Okay, and also another last thing is make sure that you have the third person there. So if you have done what I told you to do, if you create a new project and you choose game and you choose third person and make sure you have starter content, you should be able to have this folder, the third person. Okay. All right, now let's go to our characters folder. Okay, and then we have to create a new folder in there. So let's just go ahead and right click here. All right, and then new folder, and let's go ahead and name it whatever you want, maybe the name of your character. I'm gonna go ahead and call this, since my character's name is Michael B. Jordan, I'm just gonna go ahead and type in Michael. All right, and then I'm gonna go inside that folder. All right, okay, hold on, let me see, did I add a space on there? Let me double check again. I'm gonna go to my content, characters, F2. If you want to change the name, press F2 on your keyboard and you could always change the name. But yeah, after you create a folder, go ahead, go inside it, and then we have to create a new folder inside that folder. And then let's go ahead and call it animations. So this is where we're gonna drag and drop all of our animations. And then let's also create a new folder in there, new folder, and call it blueprint, that's fine. This is where we're gonna put our blueprint and our blend space for our character that will allow our character to move when we press the keyboard. All right, then we press the left arrow, right arrow, up arrow, our character is going to be interacting and is going to move and walk. All right, so in our folder, the animations folder, this is where we're going to drop all of the stuff that we have downloaded from Examo. So let's go ahead inside it. And how do you put in the animations here? Just go to the folder, right, and just drag it. Okay, drag your folder until you see that you're able to drag it around like this. And we just go, the first thing that we're gonna need to drop off, the first file that we're gonna need to drop is gonna be the T-pose file. Drop it on there. So just click, hold, and drag. So I'm gonna go and do that. Click, hold, and drag right here. Okay, and you're gonna see that there's this FBX import options. there are just 2 things here that you need to make sure that you have checked on, and the rest you need to make sure that they are default. Don't touch any of those, and just make sure that skeletal mesh is checked on, import mesh is checked on, and click on import all, and just wait for a bit as it loads. And you're gonna see something about no smoothing groups information found in FBX scene. Don't worry about that. And just click on clear and exit that out. Okay, so you should see that you have your character T-pose here, and you see the skeletal system, which is very important. And you have your materials that you have created from Blender. If you have exported out your mesh as an FBX and you have a material on there, which is very important, you should have the material included in there. All right, and then later on we're going to plug in the textures that we have done in Substance Painter. We're going to put it and plug it in all these materials there. Okay. All right, now how do we import the other ones? Basically same thing. So for the rest of these, the falling idol, jump down, jump up, run, and walk, we're just going to go and click and drag them in the same folder, the animations folder. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go select all of these. So hold shift to select all at once, and then hold control, click that. And let's go ahead and just click, hold, and drag, drop it right here. And then you're going to see this FBX import options folder. Very important that you go to the mesh drop down and go to the drop down here, and then you click here, and just make sure if you click on that you choose your T-pose skeleton that you have downloaded. There's a lot of skeletal system here by default. Unreal Engine also has a bunch of these that you could use, but we need to use the one that we have downloaded from Mexamo. The one that Unreal Engine have created and skeletal system for us, which is for the T-pose skeleton. All right, just make sure that's selected and click on import all, and just wait for a bit as it loads. And there you go. You should see now that you have all of these animations that you have downloaded from Mexamo. Okay, now of course all of these looks like they're just gray, right? They are white because there's really no textures here. Okay, so how do we make sure that our textures are here? So what you need to do is just go double click on the T-pose, all right, the T-pose one that you have imported here. Okay, so there are 2 different T-pose, the one with the T-pose skeleton and the T-pose, the regular T-pose geometry. So let's go ahead and double click on the T-pose geometry. Just this one is good. Double click on that, and then you should see a window pop up like this. Okay, you're going to see on the right side here asset details, and you're going to see that there's some material slots here, and these are the materials that we have exported out of Blender. We have the outfit material, eyeball material, head, arms, caruncle, tear duct, and I think that's it. Let me see. If I scroll down, yeah, I think that's about it. But what you could do is you could actually go double click on each of these materials, and you're going to be able to access all the materials here and plug in your textures. So what we could do is we could go ahead and plug in. The first things first is going to be the outfit area. So go ahead and double click on the outfit here. All right, so when you double click inside it, we have a material here, shader, that we can go ahead and use. And you can see here on the outfit, there's already a normal map that's applied, that's assigned to the normal here. I'm going to go ahead and just delete that. And I'm going to delete this here. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to minimize this. And looks like I have forgotten to remove the normal map textures on there when I have exported it out of Blender. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these textures. Okay, I'm going to go and remove those. Force delete. Okay, and we are going to go ahead and create a brand new folder. Let's go to our folder, the name of the character, all right, folder. The name is Michael, all right, folder. And I'm going to create a brand new folder, and I'm going to call it Unreal _ textures. All right. And if you have not done so, make sure that you go to File and Export Textures, and make sure that you export out all your textures as Unreal Engine for Pact, okay? And we could export it as Targa, and size is 4K textures, 4096 by 4096, and of course, go to the output directory and let Substance Painter where you want to export your file, and just click on Export. I don't need to export anything for the eyeball, and I don't think I need the tear duct either, because we're going to use the one for our MetaHuman. And yeah, all that, and then I'm going to go ahead and export. Once everything is exported out, we could go ahead and drag everything in our Unreal Textures folder. So I'm going to go and select all of these textures right here, all these Targa files, and I'm just going to click and drag it right here. And there you go. There you go. Let's go back to our character folder. In my case, Michael. That's the name of my folder there. Okay, so let's go to our animations folder. And so on the T-pose, right here, the T-pose mesh right here, let's double click on there. Okay, and let's go to the outfit, right? Okay, there you go. And it's saying that, oh, it's missing the normal map that's plugged in. Let's go and delete that. And let's go to our textures. Oh, not there, but we could go ahead and click and drag this window. So if you could maximize this, or you could, if you want to drag this window around, you could go ahead and drag it like this at the top, right? Just click at the top right there. And then you could go ahead and make it a little larger if you need to. But what we need to do is we need to drag our textures that we need for our outfit. We're going to drag it in here, okay? So let's go to our Unreal Textures folder. Okay, and you can see that there's going to be these 3 texture maps that we're going to need. The base color, the normal, and also the metalness, roughness, and ambient occlusion combined. We're going to drag all of these in here. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. You can go ahead and select all of these. Hold Shift and then drag it. And there they are. And then we could go ahead and maximize this again, right? You could go ahead and right click and drag your mouse to just kind of pan. And yeah, we could go ahead and reorganize these here. So looks like there's something connected to the base color. This is only if you want like a plain color here. You could add a parameter here and then just change it to like any solid color you want. But that's not what we want. We want the base color map that we use. So we could just go and delete that. And then we gotta plug this in instead. So click from RGB to the base color right here. And you can see right there, right? Another thing is click on your shader here and make sure that your material is going to be domain, and just default lit is fine for now. Okay, and so now right here we have a texture map here. This is going to be for the ambient occlusion, going to be for the roughness and the metallic, all right? Okay, so to plug this in, the R goes to ambient occlusion, and then the G goes to a roughness, and then the B goes to metallic. All right, so you gotta plug it in that way. And then for the normal map, we just gotta go and plug that in onto the normal. All right, and there you go. So you could actually see the preview right here, how it's looking. All right, so once you have connected everything, just go ahead and hit save. All right, there you go. Saving it, and we could go ahead and exit that out. And then we could go ahead and see how our character looks like. We could go to our animations folder, and we could go ahead and drag our T-pose. Click and drag our T-pose onto the scene. Press F to zoom in, and you could see now we could see our textures for our outfit. The textures for our skin, we don't have that yet, but we will be plugging that in. But there it is. It's showing everything. So let's say that you want to adjust the normal map intensity for your outfit, all right, or the normal map here, right? So to do that, we could go to our T-pose again, all right, and then we could go to our outfit material here, okay. And we could do something about the normal map here, so we're able to adjust the normal map intensity. I mean, you could do all that in Substance Painter, adjust your intensity in Substance Painter, but why do that when you could do it here, straight in the game engine, right? So how do we exactly do that? How do we adjust the intensity? So first things first, let's go ahead and right-click and type in flatten normal. And then we going to need another one, right-click. And let's type in plus, I think 1 minus. There you go, 1 minus. And then let's go and press right click and then type in scalar parameter. There you go. And we could go ahead and name this one NM intensity. So that stands for normal map intensity. And then we just gotta do our connections. So let's go and plug in our normal map here onto normal right there, and then plug in the result from here, this result here, click, hold, and drag onto normal, and then let's go and plug in our -1 here onto the flatness, and you're gonna see an error, don't worry. We're gonna plug in our value because it's looking for a value here that we could adjust. We could just click and drag it over here, and there you go. Right now, you don't see any more folds here. This is your preview, and there's no normal map showing because the value is at 0. So if we go ahead and set this to 1, now you could see it. If you set it to 4, you start to see more of the folds. So I think I'm going to set it to 1 for now. If I need to adjust it later, I could do that. And go ahead and save it. And go ahead and just minimize that. There you go. Next up is going to be our material for our skin. So instead of having to keep on going back to our T-pose and clicking the material from there, we could just go straight to our material here and double click on those materials, okay? So we could go ahead and double click the head arms. Basically, that's the one that I've added for my head, for my skin. So I'm going to double click on that. And there it is. We could just delete all these textures that are already plugged in. And then we could go ahead and click and drag there, okay? And we have to drag our textures that we're gonna need for this. So let's go to our Unreal textures, okay? And so for this one, I see that my MB mesh are here. Okay, hold on. So I need okay, so there it is. I have this one, and this. So this is gonna be for the actual skin of the character and the head texture, the base color for our skin. So I'm gonna go and select the head and arms, hold shift click, and then just click and drag it over here. There you go. And then we can go ahead and maximize this again and just gonna reorganize these. So I like to put the metalness, metallic, roughness, and then occlusion in the middle, and then the base color here at the top, and normal map right there. All right, so let's go ahead and plug these in. So for the base color, just go ahead and plug that in like that. And we could go ahead and kind of check what we're working with here. I'd like to look at the eyes. See, you can see it right there. Could also scroll your mouse, zoom in, zoom out. Ooh. Okay. And of course, for this right here, which is going to be the R is going to be for the ambient occlusion. G is going to be for the roughness, and B is going to be for the metallic. And then we have our normal map here. And once again, we need to make sure that we are able to adjust the normal map intensity. So you could go ahead and right click and type in flatten normal. And then we could go ahead and 1 minus, and also the value for this is going to be a scalar parameter. There you go. I'm going to go ahead and name it NM intensity. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and name this one skin NM intensity. That's fine. And let's go ahead and do our plugins here RGB goes to normal, result goes to normal here, and then this one is gonna go to our flatness, and then this one is gonna go on to here for the value. And then we could crank this up. I'm gonna set this to 1. There you go. Okay, and we can go ahead and save this. If you see an asterisk next to the name, that means you need to save it if you want to see the result. And we can go ahead and minimize this and see what we have here. And you could see that it is way too shiny, right? It's way too wet and everything. Okay, so we could go back. I'm going to go to my animations here. So I have my materials right here. I'm going to go to the head and arms again, right? To adjust the shininess of our material here, we could go add a value for our specular, okay? So we could go ahead and press 1 on your keyboard. As you hold one on your keyboard, just click on here on the viewport, and you're gonna see this value node, and go ahead and connect that value node onto the specular. All right, so since the value is 0, there's no specularity at all, there's no shine. If I set this to a high value like 5, and he's very shiny right now, look like he's sweating. So maybe for this, the value could be maybe 0.1. Let's try 0.1 here. So I'm gonna go ahead and type in 0.1. There you go. And let's see what we're working with. I'm gonna go ahead and minimize this. All right, so you can see it's a lot less shinier, which is exactly what we're looking for. And another thing is what very important thing that we also have to do, okay, let's not forget this, going back to our material. Okay, so we need this skin to be translucent because it is skin after all. We cannot just, if we go to our shader here, so right now it's at default lit shading model, so that's going to be our shader. So that's fine if we want to use it for an object like an outfit, which is okay. But since we are using skin, and skin is a little bit translucent, we need to change this from default lit to, let's see here, subsurface profile. All right, so you can see we have a little bit of translucency going on. All right, you can see it right there. And another thing is, if we scroll down, there's going to be the subsurface profile here. We need to put something in here, and there's a default subsurface profile we could use here. Let's go ahead and click and drag this. All right, and I'm gonna go and drag this to the right. All right, so drag this here. So yeah, we have to plug in something right there for our subsurface profile. Let's go. I'm gonna go and minimize this. Let's go to our, click on your all folder, and we could type in SP, so all capital, and then underscore. Okay, and then there's some subsurface profiles here that we could use. You could really use any of these. We could go ahead and use the SP head subsurface profile. I think that's something that we could use. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that. So I'm gonna go over here, and let's go ahead and click and drag this subsurface profile onto right here. There you go. So we got something that we could use. Yeah, go ahead, and we can also go ahead and click apply so we can see exactly what we're working with. All right, there's a difference there. It's definitely have softened our character's face, so it definitely looks a lot more like skin, very much more realistic to me. All right, and once, just like with any subsurface, once you add a subsurface, it's gonna look like the normal map. It's not as intense as we want it to be. So we could go back to our intensity for our normal map. This is where it becomes very helpful. So for the intensity, maybe I could crank it up a little bit. So I'm gonna set this to 1.5. All right, there you go. So you can see a little bit more of that. Let's go ahead and save this out. There you go. And oh yeah, one last thing I want to talk about here is, let's say you want to adjust the subsurface scattering, and let's say you don't want it to be let's say you don't want the skin to be translucent. What you could do is you could add a value for the opacity. All right, you could hold 1 on your keyboard, click here to create a node parameter, a value parameter, and we could go ahead and plug that in onto the opacity. There you go. Okay, so if this is at 0, right, with this at 0, see right now it's 0 at opacity, that means there's no subsurface. If we set it to a higher value like 5, now it's more translucent. You can even set it to, let's say, 10, way more translucent. So maybe I'm going to set this to, maybe 0.3. So I don't want it to be that translucent, but translucent enough so it look like skin. Okay, and I'm gonna go and save that and minimize that. Yeah, that's good. I think this is good enough because I'm able to see the details. At the same time, there's still some softness to the skin, so I think this will definitely work. All right, and you're probably thinking, okay, where's the eyes? So how do we add the eyes here? So let's go back to our character folder and make sure if you go to your character folder and you don't see anything, that's because you probably still have the search thing that you're looking for. So just go ahead and X that out. So I'm gonna get rid of the XP, just exit that out. And so now we see all our folders. And then let's go to our animations because this is where all the materials are at. I'm probably gonna reorganize this later. But for the eyeball, right, we're gonna go ahead and double click on that eyeball material, and could go ahead and just delete this parameter that's connected to the base color. And actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and exit that out. Yeah, exit that out. No need to be making those changes. There's actually just one thing that we could do here. We could go to our T-pose, go to our T-pose right here. All right, and you could see that this is important because we actually have to replace the material here for the eyeball. So you can see the eyeball right there, right? So how do we plug in the eyeball here? And I showed it to you before in the last video, in the eyeball video, right? Remember when we did the eyeball test? Basically, it's the same process. So let's go to our all folder and let's find the MetaHuman eyeball. So let's go ahead and we have to find the MetaHuman eyeball material. Type in refract. And there you go, where we could see the MI refractive instance. So we could go ahead and drag that. We can go ahead and click that. You could choose that and then click on this arrow. All right. So we could go ahead and click here. All right. Make sure that's selected. And then this little arrow right there, just click use asset from content browser. There you go. Oh my god, my bad. I'm not supposed to do that. That was the head and arms. I'm supposed to do it on the eyeball. So, oh my god. So yeah, eyeball. Make sure that you choose the right material. So eyeball. All right. So I'm gonna click here. So I'm gonna select this and then click on the eyeball one. There you go. And there's his eyes. And as I showed you in the past video, we could actually adjust the eyes here, the eye color and everything. So we could adjust the iris. So you could do that by just double clicking inside it. And we could go ahead and mess around with the values that we need here. So you could adjust the radius of the eye. All right, you could make it larger or smaller, however you want it. Okay. And you could even mess around with the pupil scale. All right, if you want to make him look dilated, you can. So my character does have a dark brown eye, so I think I'll leave it like this for now, and just gonna go ahead and save that. And we could also just go ahead and, yeah, I think I'll leave it there, but yeah, that's fine. You could, yeah, that's fine. I'll just leave that material on there, that material instance. So I'm just gonna go and exit that out. And you're probably thinking, okay, so where is going to be the hair? We are going to be doing that, but we are going to have to make some fixes on the material and also for our roughness first. Now let's not forget to add the materials that we're going to need for our caracal and our tear duct here. So you can see they're just white right now. So let's deal with the tear duct, which is supposed to be transparent. Okay, so how do we make that transparent? Let's go to our character folder, onto the animations, and onto the T-pose here. Okay, we need to find the tear duct material. Okay, so we're gonna have to replace this material with the MetaHuman fluid tear duct material. Okay, So to do that, let's go to our all folder right here and then just type in Lacrimal, L-A-C-R-I-M-A, and there it is, mi_lacrimal fluid. And we could just click on that and then go over here and then just click on the use as selected asset from content browser with our tear duct. There you go. And now it should be, you should see that it's definitely transparent, okay? And we could also go ahead and deal with our caruncle. So for our caruncle here, I'm just going to go ahead and exit that out. So for our caruncle, let's go to our character folder. Let's just exit that out so it's not showing any Lacrimal. And let's go to our animations. And for this one, we actually are going to be using textures that we have exported out of Substance Painter. You can double click on the material itself. And I'm just going to go and delete that. And let's go to our Unreal textures here. And I'm going to drag all the textures from my caruncle. I'm going to go ahead and drag all of these on there. And then just reorganize it. Okay, and same process, guys. Just go ahead and plug in the base color right here. And then for the R is going to be for ambient occlusion. G is going to be for roughness. And B is metallic. And then here, normal map, plug that in onto our normal. And you're going to go ahead and hit save. And exit that out. And there it is. You can see that we have our caruncle right there. Looking nice. Okay. And I think he is way too bright. Made him a little too light skinned. And as I mentioned before, you could always go back to Substance Painter and change it however you want to change it. But I just want to do everything in Unreal starting from now as much as I can. Alright, so to do that, we could just go back to our, if you want to adjust the skin tone, you go back to your material. So I'm going to go over here and find my material for the skin. There it is. Yeah. So to adjust it, so right now we have the texture connected, our base color, right? It has a texture on there. We could go ahead and right click and add a multiply node, M-U-L-T, multiply node. And then we could go ahead and plug the RGB onto the A and then plug this in onto the base color. And we could go ahead and adjust our node here. So right now, if I go ahead and set this to 0, you see it's just pure dark. It's not really showing the texture. If I set this to 4, now you got brighter. So you could adjust this to make it lighter or darker. I'm going to go and set this to, if I set this to 2, set it to 1. If I set it to 0.5, you see how it got darker? If I put 0.3, so the lower the value, the darker the tone is for the character that you're doing here. So I'm going to just set this to 0.5. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And go ahead and exit that out. And yeah, I think I am happy with this type of color right there. And another thing is I want to change the focal point just so that it will match more of how it looks like in Blender. So I'm going to go over here. So we just click on this little icon right there with the 3 horizontal lines. And you can adjust the field of view. And I think I'm going to set this to 50. So you could see a little bit more of the face instead of, because it looked like it was warping. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this for now. One last thing I want to show you is how to adjust the highlights of the skin. Because right now, I think the highlights are too tight. So it looks like he's sweating. And I don't want him to look like he's sweating too much. If that's what you are going for, then you could keep it like this. But I think I'm going to go back here. And so to adjust the highlights here so it's not too tight, you could go and plug in a node for the roughness. So remember, the roughness is going to be the letter G that is plugged into the roughness right here. In between that, we could add a divide node. I'm going to right click and type in divide. Okay, so now we have to plug in the G onto letter A. And then this, we plug this in onto the roughness. And then we could adjust the value here. So let's right now, if I set this to 0. So right now, there's really no highlights there. And if I go and set this to maybe 0.5, let me see how it looks like. If I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Alright, so that is better. There's less highlights, and I think I'll keep it as it is. I could always go back and adjust if I need to, but I think I'm good with that. Okay, I'm going to X that out. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to add the groom for our character.